Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, it's Kenshin, and we're here right now for a highly anticipated album review. That's right, 3 Days Grace's Human. We're going to be reviewing that this evening. Alright, so, a little bit of backstory again. This is 3 Days Grace's first album with their new lead singer, Matt Walst, who is from My Darkest Days, but is Brad Walst's brother. And as you all know, Brad is the bassist for the band. Now, Adam Gontier was the original vocalist for the band, who led the band through the albums of the self-titled 1X, Life Starts Now, and Transit of Venus. Shortly after Transit of Venus, he did leave the band, and then Matt joined. Matt was going to be a temporary member, but thankfully he ended up staying. You know, for a while we weren't sure, but ended up staying throughout the tour and is now permanent vocalist. Since this time, they've released three singles, I Am Machine, Painkiller, and Human Race, not in that order. And the band has clearly taken a different sound without Adam, except from obviously from a vocal standpoint, it's completely different. But the music of 3 Days Grace itself has also changed. Now, if you watched my video of Human Race, you'll know that I was having a little bit of a go at the band and their style for being repetitive and sounding very radio-friendly, and those critiques sort of carried over to Painkiller and I Am Machine. While these songs were fun sort of songs to rock out to and have a good time with, they were repetitive and repeat a lot of the same phrases over and over and over, and felt rather poppy, which kind of sucked because 3 Days Grace didn't always do that. Yeah, sure, there was some repetition in the past, but it didn't feel as blatant. So now we have the full album. We have Human here. We have album tracks other than the singles to take a look at. And the band has indeed changed. And while I'm not completely sold on their new style, I definitely think that what I was expecting was way worse than what I actually got. And for that, I'm thankful. After hearing the 3 singles, I was expecting, oh god, this album's just going to all sound the same. It's going to be the same. And while I'm not entirely wrong, there are some good moments on the album, a few good tracks, but for as many good tracks as there are a few lackluster ones. Now, this has nothing to do with my feelings about Adam or Matt changing whatever. I do feel, though, that Adam's departure from the band, since he was the creative genius behind everything, I do feel that it kind of does show that the original life of 3 Days Grace was completely perpetuated and created by Adam Gontier. When you're a band of that genre, of the alt-rock, hard rock, post-grunge kind of thing, you know, that's what they call it, I don't agree with, but whatever. The vocalist and frontman and writer is everything. And with Matt now in charge, you know, I was never a fan of My Darkest Days. I definitely do prefer Matt's version of 3 Days Grace over his work with My Darkest Days. I think My Darkest Days is crap. But with his work with 3 Days Grace, it's much better. But that said, it doesn't have the same feeling that it did with Adam. Now, when it comes to the music with Adam, I also do feel that Adam's creative well was running a little dry. The self-titled and 1X legendary albums, we all know them, we all love them. Life Starts Now and Transit of Venus they had some good songs, but some were forgettable and some were just downright pointless. But, you know, what I did like that Adam did do with 1X, Transit of Venus, and Life Starts Now is that the final track was always something uplifting, and that is also carried over here on Human. You know, on 1X you had 1X. That was a good uplifting song. On Life Starts Now you had Life Starts Now, and on Transit of Venus you had Unbreakable Heart. Now, I do feel though that Transit of Venus, while that is their second to last effort, clearly did show that while it did have some good songs, a lot of them were relatively forgettable. Adam's creative well did sort of run out. You know, Transit of Venus was even a little weaker than Life Starts Now. Not nearly as good as either 1X or the self-titled. So don't think that I'm trying to worship Adam here. But that said, I don't think Matt is all that incredible either. Was it incredible of him to be able to step into that role when Adam left? Yes, it was, and he's owned it ever since. But as far as the music goes, it feels unfortunately uninspired and something we've heard before many times. Now, the thing is with 3 Days Grace fans, they'll insist that everything that the band has made is incredible. They'll insist that Transit of Venus was 3 Days Grace's best album. But of course, they'll say that every new album is 3 Days Grace's best album. And they'll say every song is epic, even if it's not. So, that's what happens. Let's go track by track and take a look here at Human. And we'll talk about it. First track is Human Race. We talked about this in a separate video. You already know my feelings on it. I felt like the song structure was a little odd, but I was willing to forgive that because, hey, me, odd song structure, me to be complaining about that, forget about it. Because I listen to prog and avant, you know, song structure and those, forget about it. Not even a thing. I just thought it was a little bit strange, but that didn't bother me too much. What did was the repetition of the lyrics. It was the same thing. You know, you heard there was a lot of yeah and a lot of filler, and it didn't work. Is it a similar song in the way that's just fun to crank up and rock out to? Yeah, but is there depth and passion to it? Not so much. But I do like the turn that this album as a whole took. It took a look at the darker aspects of what it means to be human. It's not the old, oh, you're a bitch and I hate you and you're trying to fuck me over. No. It does it in a different way. It's more looking at the self. However, I don't feel it was explored enough or nearly as maturely as it could have been. But we already talked about Human Race. If you want to see more about that, check out my other video. Painkiller, then we have after that. Everyone knows this. This was Matt's breakout big single, first single with the band. Now, again, this one falls into the same category as Human Race does, and I Am Machine. These songs are repetitive as hell. Yes, the hook, the chorus is catchy as shit, and that's the idea. These songs are meant for radio play. And it's just, you know, I could be your painkiller, killer, killer, love you till it's all over, over. You know, not to say 3 Days Grace has not done that in the past, but here where you're repeating phrases so frequently and so much, it does tend to feel annoying, and you're like, come on, give me something more, give me something different. Is it a fun song? Yes, it's fun, but chances are you've already heard it, so you don't need my critique to, you know, help you form an opinion on it, because it was a single. But now we get into the actual album tracks, the stuff that people haven't quite heard yet. And where we get to see how the band's sound itself, Sam's vocals, has changed. We already know that Matt's vocals are heavier than Matt's. I mean, Matt's vocals are heavier than Adam's. We know that. It's been shown, but I don't think Matt is as good a singer. But I do like the heavier sound that the band has, but that said, again, a lot of it does have that feeling to it that you sort of get. You know, you hear the beginning riffs of Painkiller, it's really kind of similar throughout the album. There is nice use of electronics on the album, some computer work. It does definitely enhance and mess with the vocals a little bit for fun, for effect. It is kind of cool. But yes, on Fallen Angel. Now, I just actually was listening to some Breaking Benjamin the other day, and of course, we know that their new single that they just came out with the other day, Failure, after what, 6 years of not making anything, was epic. It was incredible. But I was thinking, you know, Breaking Benjamin has the idea of Angel. You know, you have Evil Angel. What is it? You have Evil Angel, and you have Anthem of the Angels, and then of course you have, you know, the opposite, Dance with the Devil. You know, Breaking Benjamin has done that a little bit. In 3 Days Grace, I feel like they're trying to jump on the boat here a little bit. Not sure, but not Evil Angel. Fallen Angel is, of course, what you would think it is. But the song doesn't go too heavy on the symbolism as some shit-ass gaycore band like Black Veil Brides might. Fucking hate Black Veil Brides. Fallen Angel doesn't try and be like, we are the fallen. No, it's talking about a singular individual person, whether it's a person talking about themselves or someone they love. It's about someone who has fallen from grace, if you will, someone who's made some bad choices and in a bad place in their life. And the main character of the song is trying to save them. You know, again, all these concepts and songs, ideas of these songs, we've heard this all before. But it's not bad in its presentation, just a little repetitive. I do like it, it's got a strong chorus, and the lyrics finally do have some change and evolution in this, which is refreshing after 2 tracks of the same thing. It's a good song, and there is some emotion to it. There's some passion. My problem is with the singles was that it just felt like a quick cash. The album tracks a few of them actually do feel some good passion in it, and this is one of them. After that, we have Landmine. This is a fun song. It's nice and heavy, and it's just fun to just go to. I'm really looking forward, hoping to see this one live. This is just a song that you want to rock out to. You know, it's talking about just anyone can relate to this. It's the feelings of having so much anger and rage and pissed offness just building up inside of you, and you feel like you're just ready to go. You just want to let it all out and explode. Who hasn't experienced that? You know, we all deal with bullshit in our lives, and sometimes we just want to let it all go in an explosive fashion. This song is fun therapy for that. It's just a fun song to rock out to. But notice I'm not really saying, you know, okay, Fallen Angel did have some emotional connection, but part of my problem here with this album, and just like how I've sort of felt for the last few 3 Days Grace albums, is that's lacking a lot of that emotional connection. It does show at some points, but the old feeling is not there anymore. It just kind of is, okay, yeah, I like that, but there are some relatable moments. Fallen Angel does show this, and yes, Landmine does too, because we can all relate to that, but it's not on that deep, deep level that was once experienced. But yet there is something there where it's like you can feel it and agree, and you know, you can get behind it, but it won't actually speak to you, perhaps. You'll just be able to relate and be like, yeah, alright, there's fun, rock out to it. You know, it is a fun song. After Landmine, we do have something that I think is very emotionally relatable and is one of the darker parts on the album, which is Tell Me Why. Now, I was thinking, oh boy, here we're gonna have another oh, why me kind of song. But this one, it's done quite well, and there was some rather real depth of emotional relatability going on here. You know, basically he's saying, tell me why everything I love has been taken away from me. It was basically a song ruminating, raging on these things, and the emotions on display here and the passion on display here is finally what I was willing to see. That's why I saw being really cracked open in Fallen Angel. I was like, yeah, we're gonna get this, it's coming, yeah. And then Landmine was just fun, but now this totally opened it up. This was the emotional vault of the album, where it was just like, yeah. I feel it. It's a song where there's a lot of anguish going on, portrayed very well. The musical sound works to hit it hard. The vocals do it. The lyrics are very potent in the way it works and the relatability. Yes, there is some repetition to it, but yes, there is some extreme ability to relate, because we've all been at a point where we were wondering these things that Matt is singing during the chorus. It's a feeling that none of us are any stranger to, and that's why it's a good song. And then, of course, we have I Am Machine. Again, this was the second single released, so people know this song. And as fun as it is, it's another rock out, kind of have fun song. Are you noticing a trend here? It is, again, repetitive, and it's a style and concept idea we've heard so many times before. You're so numb, you feel like a machine, you can't feel anything, you're pissed about it, or you don't like it, whatever. We've heard it all before. But is it a fun song? Yes, it is. I am machine, I never sleep. Yes, it's fun. It is. But it's not really original. And that's the thing that a lot of this album is lacking, is that originality. But again, it's fun. It's just, it's a good jam to rock out to. Maybe it's because of my age. I'm 19. I started listening to 3 Days Grace when I was 13. And maybe it's because I'm just a little older, my music tastes have changed. But I'm not sure, because I still find a lot of emotional connection in my music, and I'm just not finding it in 3 Days Grace. So maybe it's the band, maybe it's me, maybe it's both. But I am noticing good threads here, but it's not the same. Then we have So What. Okay, this is another fun one. Again, it's the same trend. It's fun, but not necessarily deep and engrossing and engaging, and something you're gonna really feel. So What is just a song, it's like a successor to Landmine, if you will. It's alright, you know what? Fuck it, I'm letting it all out. I'm pissed, I'm angry, I'm going crazy. You think I'm sick, I don't fucking care. This is how we're going. I'm just letting it all out, and it's like, it's a good release. Landmine was building tension with occasional explosions. So What is just ripping out, going hard. And it's a blast. I want to see it live. You know, there's a lot of songs on this album I want to see live, because they'll be fun. They'll be entertaining. And this one is just, it's constant pedal to the metal going, and the chorus just makes you want to go. After that, we do have a little bit of a disappointing one, Car Crash. I wasn't sure what to expect from Car Crash, and unfortunately, it is the metaphor you were expecting. talking about someone's life, perhaps his own or someone else's. You know, he could be talking to himself about himself or someone else. Basically saying someone's life turning into a car crash. They couldn't stop at the red light, red light, red light. Again, there's repetition in the lyrics, you couldn't tell. And, you know, it's okay. But, you know, a lot of the lyrics are repeated, you know, about... I think red light is said more times than car crash. But that said, it's alright. It's one of the weaker songs. But it does have moments when it's good when he's intertwining, you know, red light at the headlight. You know, it does work then, but unfortunately all the lyrical intertwining is not common enough. Then we have Nothing's Fair in Love and War. This one is great. I do like this one quite a bit. Again, it's fun. It's just, this song goes from a lot of, you know, slower to faster, heavier points, and it works. And it pretty much just says, love's brutal. It's war. Love is hell. You know, love can be so great, but oftentimes love can turn into war, and nothing's fair there. Love is stab in the heart. You know, it can be that way. And this song sums it up really nicely. It's got a lot of good pacing, and I quite enjoyed it. You know, it's just around long enough, and it's something to get into and like. We can all relate. One Too Many is the next one. This one I put in the same way as Car Crash. We've heard this one before, many times. Doesn't work. It's all about needing that next fix. Painkiller was all we needed for a drug addiction song on the album. This one, it was, I don't know what it was trying to get. You know, was it trying to be, what? Not the one. Was it trying to be happiness? I don't know. It was like a negative take on happiness, you know, from the last album. I don't know, but it was all about saying, you know, you need that next fix, you need that next hit, that one more, but it's already too many. You know, we've heard it before. The song itself isn't original. It's just, it's okay. You know, it's a song we've heard many times in many ways, and it's just ultimately ending up to be a little boring. You know, I was kind of like, okay, come on, let's get this over with. You know, while a lot of the songs had good pacing, this one kind of didn't. Then we had The End Is Not the Answer. Okay. Yeah. Trying to get a feelsy song here about trying to be a lot like Never Too Late. The whole, you know, no matter what you say, I'm still going to be here for you. Even if you say you want to kill yourself, I'll be here for you. You know, it's just, it's uninspired. It doesn't have the fun or potency that the other songs did. Yeah, sure, it's got a few moments where it works, but overall it's just like, you've heard it before, and the repetition of phrases just grates on you, and it's you know? And then, of course, we do follow the trend from the other few albums by ending on an upper. Now, it's not completely an upper, you're not going to feel like, yeah! But we do have The Real You as the last track. And now this could have gone one of two ways. It could have been like, oh, I thought you were really nice, but you turned out to be a bitch. Or it could go into a, you know, no matter what, I know who you really are inside. I know that no matter how much shit you face and how you feel and become, I see the real you and how wonderful you can be. And that's the direction it went in, and I'm glad it did. It was the emotional ending track. And this is something that I can relate to because I know oftentimes I can get rather depressed and sad and mad and unfortunately not be as nice as I'd like to be to my girlfriend. You know, we have the best relationship ever, but sometimes, man, you know, I don't act the way I really should. You know, and she knows that. In this track, I almost feel like it's her speaking to me, you know, and we always have a heart-to-heart on. We understand each other. You know, she says she'll stick by me no matter what, just like it is in the song, and that was emotionally moving. But I think everyone has been through a situation like this where they just can't seem to get up, clear their mind, clear their heart, and they need someone there to be there for them, with them, who sees the real them, and no matter what shit is clouding them, keeping them away from being them true selves, they're there for them. And that's kind of, that's the album. That song, again, emotionally, yes, musically, eh. So bottom line about this album, well, there are a few good songs that I actually think stuck out. You know, we're going to ignore the singles when I say that, because those are just, everyone knows the singles. I do think Fallen Angel, Landmine, Tell Me Why, So What, and Nothing Is Fair in Love and War are the better songs on the album. Are there any songs on there that I would say are now my 3 Days Grace favorites? No, not a chance. Are there any songs on there to topple some of the greats, like Am I Become Never Too Late, Pain, Riot? No. No. Don't expect a massive, incredible, like, explosion from 3 Days Grace to blow you out of your seat. I'm not trying to compare it to those because I know those are legendary, but still, you're not going to find anything that's really going to wow you. You'll find more of the same from the singles. A heavier sound, which I do like, Matt's vocals, which really don't change much at all, but he does show some work, and some progression on the part of the band. Some passion at times, which is really great, was what I was looking for, but just not enough to make it work. Overall, I'd say the album is fun. Even though it's under 40 minutes, I feel like it really ought to have been shorter because it's just not interesting enough. It really isn't, which is unfortunate. But there is reasonably decent pacing. But the album could have been a lot better, and I feel like, unfortunately, some creativity was sacrificed in moments to gain a wider audience. Creativity and emotional relatability was sacrificed to gain a wider audience. There are some slight moments of progressivity that I like, but overall, it's an okay album and continues on the trend of the last 3 albums having been okay. You know, I'm not expecting another 1X, but, you know, the other albums have had their moments, and this one too does have its moments, but unfortunately the moments here are weaker than those in the past. It's an alright album. There's nothing to dislike and hate about it and be like, oh, this fucking sucks. Just the repetition and how it feels occasionally uninspired do drag it down a lot. But overall, it's okay, and it does have some very fun moments in the music. Not bad. I'd recommend it's worth a listen or two, but nothing that's probably going to stay with you. Transit of Venus didn't really stay with me, and this one probably won't either, save for a few moments here and there and some tracks. I'd still definitely go see the band, have a great time with them live, but overall, a bit of a disappointment, but not as much of a disappointment as I was expecting it to be, so I would say that's a good thing, you know, so it's 50-50. Good and bad, maybe a little bit more on the boring bad side, but overall it's not terrible, not awful, but just okay, mediocre, meh, something you've probably heard many times before elsewhere. It's worth a listen, but not really worth that many, you know. It's okay, with a few good songs here and there. Yeah, that's my review, and thank you guys for checking it out. See you later. Rock on.